Close your eyes and picture a samurai. I bet you're thinking of a man, right? In a crazy helmet with a katana. Every movie, every story has drilled this one image into our heads. But what if I told you one of the most feared warriors in one of Japan's biggest wars was a woman? This is the insane story of Tomoe Gozen. Her name is legendary, a warrior they said was worth 1,000 soldiers. Her story is all about insane bravery, loyalty, and terrifying strength. But because history was written by men, her life is a total mystery. Was she even real, or just a myth? Today we find out the truth. To understand how insane Tomoe was, you need to see the world she lived in. We're talking 12th century Japan, and the entire country was tearing itself apart. A peaceful time was ending, and a bloody 5-year civil war was starting, the Genpei War. This was the birth of the samurai age. Basically, it was a crazy family feud for who got to rule all of Japan. On one side, you had the Taira clan. They were in charge, super powerful, and maybe a little arrogant. They literally put a baby on the throne to keep their power. And on the other side, the Minamoto clan. These guys were tough warriors just waiting for revenge. In 1180, they got their chance and all-out chaos erupted. Alliances were broken, families turned on each other, and Japan's battlefields turned red. This war had massive armies, insane sieges, and battles that would become legendary. But even the Minamoto clan was fighting itself for who would be the top dog. And right in the middle of all this chaos is where our story gets crazy. Because one of the most brilliant and unpredictable generals was a Minamoto named Kiso Yoshinaka, and his #1 warrior was the legend herself, Tomoe Gozen. In the tale of the Heike, which is like Japan's version of a superhero epic, Tomoe Gozen shows up, and she's not just a warrior, she is a straight-up force of nature. The book says, Tomoe was especially beautiful, with white skin, long hair, and charming features. But don't let that fool you. Right after that, it warns you of her skill. She was also a remarkably strong archer, and as a swordswoman, she was a warrior worth 1,000, ready to confront a demon or a god, mounted or on foot. This wasn't just talk. She could tame wild horses like it was nothing, riding them down insane cliffs. In an age where the bow was everything, she was a god-tier archer. And when things got close, she used a giant sword that terrified her enemies. Her boss, this general named Yoshinaka, literally thought she was his best warrior. The epic says that before every single battle, he sent her out first, in full armor, to lead the charge. And in every fight, she performed more deeds of valor than any of his other warriors. Nobody knows what their relationship was. The tale of the Heike just calls her an attendant, but later stories say she was his wife. What we do know is that they were loyal to each other, a bond created in battle. Yoshinaka was a reckless general with big plans, and the stories say he trusted Tomoe completely. Just imagine seeing that on the battlefield. In all the chaos, a woman is leading the attack. She wasn't just some soldier. The legend says she was the tip of the spear. Another book, the Genpei Joswiki, says in her first battle, she fought off tons of enemies all by herself. She was becoming a living legend, and her biggest challenge was about to come. For a while, Yoshinaka's army was unstoppable, and the legend says Tomoe was the secret weapon behind their biggest wins. As Yoshinaka came down from the mountains, his attacks were fast, aggressive, and so clever they stunned the enemy. Get this. At the Battle of Kurakara in 1183, Yoshinaka's army was massively outnumbered. It was supposed to be an impossible fight, so he used a genius trick. In the middle of the night, he tied flaming torches to the horns of a bunch of oxen and sent them charging into the enemy camp. The Taira soldiers woke up to chaos, thought they were being attacked by a giant army, and ran away in a panic. Thousands of them fell right off a cliff. While the main epic doesn't mention her here, other stories say Tomoe was there, leading her own unit. This victory was a massive turning point. It completely wrecked the Taira army and opened the path to the capital city, Kyoto. Yoshinaka kept pushing forward. At the Battle of Yokotagawara, they say Tomoe herself took the heads of 7 enemy warriors. 7. In one battle. In samurai warfare, taking heads was how you proved you were the best. For one person to take 7 was unbelievable and made her reputation terrifying. After these wins, Yoshinaka's army marched right into Kyoto. The Taira fled, taking the child emperor with them. For a second, it looked like Yoshinaka, the mountain warrior, had won. He and his top commanders, including Tomoe, were the new masters of Japan. But victory can disappear in a flash. Yoshinaka's win didn't last. His soldiers started looting the city and the people hated them. Even worse, his own cousin, Minamoto no Yoritomo, the real leader of the clan, saw him as a rival who had to be destroyed. The war was about to turn on itself, and Tomoe was about to fight not the Taira, but her own clan. By the winter of 1184, it all fell apart. Yoshinaka went from hero to zero. He was hated, declared an enemy, and trapped in Kyoto. His cousin, Yoritomo, sent a gigantic army led by 2 of Japan's best generals to crush him. Yoshinaka's army was chased out of the city and made their last stand at Awazu. His once huge army was now just a few hundred guys, surrounded by thousands. And in this final impossible battle, the legend of Tomoe Gozen was born. The tale of the Heike describes total carnage. Yoshinaka's warriors fought like they had nothing to lose. As their numbers dropped from hundreds to just a few, Tomoe was right in the middle of it, an absolute whirlwind of destruction. As the end got closer, Yoshinaka turned to Tomoe. He knew he was about to die and gave her one last order. He basically said, "You are a woman, so get away from here. I'm going to die in this battle. It would be a disgrace if they said my last fight was with a woman." I know, it's a crazy thing to say, but that was their code. The story says Tomoe was heartbroken but ready to obey. But before she left, she wanted to do one last incredible thing for her lord. And what happened next is insane. A group of 30 enemy soldiers appeared, led by a famously strong warrior. Seeing her chance, Tomoe charged right at him, grabbed this huge dude with superhuman strength, pinned him to her horse, and took his head. Some stories even say she twisted it off with her bare hands. After proving her power one last time, she threw off her armor and galloped away. And then, she just vanished. Gone. A few moments later, her boss, Yoshinaka, was killed. The battle was over, but her story was just getting started. Okay, so did any of that actually happen? This is where things get super complicated. We've looked at all the official records, government files, army diaries, you name it. And Tomoe Gozen is nowhere. She's a ghost. The only place we find her story is the Tale of the Heike. And that book, while a national treasure, isn't a history book. It was made up decades later by traveling monks to entertain people. It's basically Japan's version of a superhero movie. It's meant to be entertaining, not a history textbook. This has led a lot of historians to believe she was a made-up character, created to make Yoshinaka's final battle even more epic. I mean, a beautiful woman with the strength of a demon. That's an unforgettable character. Even her name is a mystery. Gozen isn't a name, it's a title, like Lady. It makes her feel more like a legend than a person. So, does that mean she's fake? Well, that leads to an even bigger question. Could a woman like Tomoe have even existed back then? You probably think female samurai are a modern invention, right? Wrong. They were 100% real, and they were called Onna-bugeisha, or woman warriors. For centuries, women from samurai families were expected to know how to use weapons to protect their homes while the men were off fighting. Their main weapon was the naginata, a long pole with a blade that gave them a reach advantage over anyone trying to attack their castle. They were also trained with bows, arrows, and even this small dagger called a kaiken for close-quarters combat. And these women fought. There are records of women fighting like heroes in castle sieges, people like Tomoe Gozen or Nakano Takeko, who led an entire unit of female warriors in 1868. Archaeologists have even found female bodies at battle sites, which means they fought way more often than the official records say. But, and this is a huge but, here's what makes Tomoe so different. The other women warriors fought to defend their homes. Tomoe was an attacker. She led charges. She was a captain on the battlefield. That was almost unheard of. This is why she's stuck between history and myth. Warrior women were real, but a woman with her kind of power would have flipped their whole society upside down. Maybe that's why she was erased from the official history. Or maybe she was written into the epic because she was such a shocking and unforgettable exception to the rule. So what happened to Tomoe after she vanished from that last battle? Nobody knows. Her story just explodes into a bunch of different crazy legends. Theory number 1, she gets captured, but this one warrior is so impressed he marries her. They have a son who becomes a super strong warrior, just like his mom. This legend says that after her husband died, Tomoe became a nun and lived to be 91 years old. Theory number 2 is way more tragic. She escapes, gets revenge for her boss, finds his head so no one can disrespect it, and then walks into the ocean to die and join him. And theory number 3, she just quit. She became a nun and never told anyone she was the most fearsome warrior in Japan, taking the secret to her grave. Real people have one life. Legendary heroes get to have many. The fact that there are so many different endings is probably the best proof that Tomoe Gozen is more legend than fact. In the past, her story was about loyalty. Today, she's a symbol of female power. Tomoe Gozen's story proves that the history we think we know is never that simple. Her legacy isn't some boring fact in a book. It's in all the plays, art, and even video games she's inspired. I want to know what you guys think. Which one of these endings is the real one? Vote in the comments right now. And if you can't believe they left this out of the history books, smash that subscribe button, because we're finding more crazy stories just like this one. So who was Tomoe Gozen? Was she a real person or just an incredible story? The truth is, we might never know for sure, and that's what makes her so epic. She exists in that amazing space between fact and fiction. The official records might be empty, but her legend is huge. It's in plays, it's in video games, it's everywhere. They even have someone dress up as her and ride a horse in a massive parade in Japan every single year. That's how legendary she is. Tomoe completely shatters our image of the samurai, proving how powerful women were in one of the most masculine cultures in history. Whether she was real or a legend, her story is a reminder that sometimes the best stories are the ones that make us question who we remember. She is the warrior worth 1,000, the beautiful demon, the loyal captain, and the ghost in Japan's history. She is Tomoe Gozen, the deadliest woman samurai that you have now heard of.